Hey, I'm Chance, and welcome to another game table adventure. The Dungeon Master's Guidebook for 3.5. Okay, let's talk about it. Well, by far, this is my favorite edition of Dungeons & Dragons 3.5. Or V3.5. And this is Core Rulebook 2. Core Rulebook 1, of course, being the original player's handbook. Well, the 3.5 player's handbook, not the original. Now, for a lot of you, especially my viewers who are aged 24 to 35, or 24 to 45, I can't remember which. Anyways, for you, this is probably the edition of Dungeons & Dragons that you played in high school. And what an edition it is. It's definitely by far my favorite. Near and dear to my heart. Many adventures with me and my friends have taken place using just these 3 core rulebooks. And there were additional expansions and additions and third-party materials that made this an excellent edition due to the open game license. Now, these books are killer, if you ask me anyways. And I'm definitely wanting to touch on these. So let's crack it open and take a look. As you can see, the cover is really well done. It has a very three-dimensional effect to it. One that I am very fond of, with this globe kind of thing in the middle. And the Dungeons & Dragons emblem, Dungeon Master's Guide. I wish they'd given the cover a textured front to really bring out the 3D effect here, but I can see why they wouldn't to save money. The back is really good too. Weave exciting tales of heroism filled with magic monsters. Where within these pages, you'll discover the tools and options you'll need to create detailed worlds and dynamic adventures for your players to experience in the Dungeons & Dragons role-playing game. And, of course, D20 system and Wizards of the Coast. So let's crack it open and take a look. Now, there is a lot to go through here. Running a game, using the rules, adventures, and pretty much all the tools on writing adventures. Non-player characters, campaigns, characters. So there is stuff for players in this book. Mostly prestige classes. Then we have magic items, glossary, and visual aids. The introduction, and here's some more of that great artwork. Oh, man. Examples of play, and in here they go through essentially a mock adventure or mock session with a group of theoretical characters and players. It never seems to play out like that, though. Some more great artwork, which really brings out what I think is wonderful about Dungeons and Dragons. The way I started playing it. Well, technically I started in 2nd edition, but we'll just brush over that since I never thought very highly of it. Not the way I came to love 3rd and 3.5. Tables, weapon equivalency. Creature sizes. Just take in the book as it is. I mean, different difficulty classes here, for examples, for skill checks. Back when skill checks fucking mattered. 5e has kind of ruined the idea of skills. And here we get into the experience point tables. These used to make it easy for a DM to know how much experience to give a group of players for each encounter. Back in the day. And back when there was no cap or limit to how high your character could climb. Well, providing the DM didn't get bored or run out of ideas. Oh man, it is so fucking nostalgic to be pulling through this book. And this is my own copy of the Dungeon Master's Guide, so you can see how well loved it is. I've kept it in very good condition. This is not my original copy. That was lost in a storage unit years ago. Oh, just look at this artwork. Fucking gorgeous. Looks like you could reach in and just grab the treasure, you know? Wealth by level. This made it easier for fucking making a character starting at a higher level. For instance, let's say I wanted to start a character at 19th level for the party. Expected wealth gain, treasure from encounters. Treasure per character. So depending on your DM, and here's the treasure tables for rolling, your DM would be able to figure out how much gold to give you to start off with. Not like it is now with 5e. Where you just kind of get what you get, and that's it. The expectation seems to be that every campaign will start at first level. Back when 3.5 was the thing, campaigns starting at higher levels was pretty commonplace, really. God, just look at these tables. Tables for fucking everything. Do you want everything simplified down to where you can fucking roll it out? Here you go. Here's a table. And not to say that 5e hasn't done that, or that 4th edition didn't do that. Though 4th edition was a little more egregious about making tables that were more fucking confusing than anything else. Oh wow, look at that. Beautiful. And this is just a collection of encounters and terrain information. Need your players to go into a desert? Here's information about the desert. Need an aquatic environment? Here you go. This book was jam fucking packed with shit that you needed for running a campaign. Jam packed. Absolutely just great stuff. Not as much artwork as other books. But let's take a look here at the NPC chapter. Look at this dragon, dragon's skull, dragon's wing. Glorious. Absolutely gorgeous shit. Everything you need. And this goes over some pretty good shit. This section is about building villains, allies, friends, cohorts, hirelings. Something you never really saw a lot of in 3.0 and 3.5. Mostly because if you needed peons, you'd just take leadership. Mercenary. Yeah, you got... This is all about building NPCs. Here's the leadership table. Look at some of this shit. Your cohort level, which could never be more than 2 levels below your level, or could never be higher than 2 levels below your level. But let's see if say your leadership score is 15, but your level was 11. Well, you'd still have this many cohorts, or followers, my bad. But your cohort would have to be level 9. It was simplified. So easy to understand. Classes like the Adept. This is not a player class, by the way. This is purely for NPCs. Your Aristocrat, Commoner, the Expert. How to stat out your NPCs. And this is example NPC barbarians by level. So you could have a pretty beefy guy or a pretty weak guy. It was all pretty simple. You didn't need to really worry about it. This book had options. And of course it had to have options because it came before the monster manual. So if you didn't have money to buy a monster manual, you'd have to create all your enemies through this book. And this chapter showed you how to do that. How to stat them, how to balance them, how much XP they were worth. It had a versatility that was, underappreciated in its own time. And frankly, I don't even see the reason for a new edition when they came out with 4th. They could have continued making supplements for 3.5. 5th edition while good and fairly usable, isn't as detailed, and I know that they simplified it down for new players. But honestly, that could have been solved by making this advanced Dungeons and Dragons and going back to the idea of running an advanced version alongside basic and calling 5e basic Dungeons and Dragons, which is how I would have done it had I been working at Wizards, but I wasn't. I was a teenager, so yeah. Well, no, I was in my early 20s when they switched over to 4e, which was sad, but I had already bought like a couple $1,000s in books, so what did I fucking care? I just kept playing 3.5. Look at this rich D&D, though. This was prime, grade A book. This is what we gamers lived for back in the day, and it's retro. I can't believe that its styling, that 3.5 is now what you'd call retro gaming. But that's the key. That's the ticket. That we end up creating new things, and the old things are suddenly classic or retro. Fuck. Let's see. Let's look for a date here. I'll use the good old bookmark. Flip back to the beginning. Look for a publishing date. Oh my god. First printing July 2003. This is over 20 years old. If it were a car, I could take it to car shows. Considered classic now. You know, I was listening to the radio the other day, and music that played when I was in high school is now considered classic rock. The fuck happened? I'm 35. I'm not old. The shit I loved isn't classic. But there you go. Times change, and the march of time goes on. Skills, feats are all now either underpowered or overpowered, and replaced entirely with proficiencies. Characters. This is the section that we've been waiting for. This is the goodies for the players. New races, information on creating races for your players. These are old school restrictions and shit. Classes. And this is where it gets fun. You'd think that there'd be class variations. No, we get prestige classes. And look at that fucking artwork. It is just bomb. The bomb diggity. Alright, I won't say that again. But fuck me. Arcane Archer. And look at some of these abilities. Enhance Arrow. Enhance Arrow. Imbue Arrow. So you're essentially taking your spells and going twang, you know, fucking blowing shit up. Arcane Trickster, which was essentially a rogue spellcaster. Pretty cool. We got this fucking crazy looking Gandalf motherfucker right here. The Fu Manchu mustache, Archmage. And its levels. An assassin here, I will use as an example to go through what a prestige class is. So you've got your block of text describing it, then the hit dice it uses. Requirements to qualify to become an assassin. Character must fulfill the following criteria. Any evil, disguise 4 ranks, hide 8 ranks, move silently 8 ranks. The character must kill someone for no other reason than to join the assassins. Their class skills. The class table. Which assassins get spells. All the class features that they get. Spell casting. And then it comes over to the Blackguard. And that is some cool imagery. An evil paladin. Doing evil for no other reason than he is evil. Kind of cliche, but fucking amazing. You don't know how many of my DMs in high school made the Blackguard the BBEG just because. Oh. God, and it's funny, we use terms like BBEG, but that wasn't even a thing yet back when I was in high school. It's called the villain. Or the main antagonist. This is the dragon monk kind of thing. Dragon disciple. Monks, essentially, that learn to become dragons. It was weird. It was a weird time. Weird shit happened. The Duelist. A class that I have played the shit out of. Essentially being a swashbuckler to the next level. The Dwarven Defender. Just look at the artwork. You know, if you need to find a system to run a campaign in, why not 3.5? This is what kicked off gaming and D&D in the new millennium. This is what D&D was post-2000. And it was glorious. Man, you could just look at that artwork. It just jumps off that page. That bitch looks like she's gonna kill the font. Like, fuck you, words! I've had enough of your shit! This guy's like, please help me, get me off this page. I'm stuck in here in this book. Ah! This guy looks like he's trying to talk to you. Like, you should be a thermagist. You should. I will explain to you why you need to be one. Just read the words around me. Alright. But no, it's just... It was a time in gaming that feels like it was forgotten. And I know the people who watch my channel, or at least the people who subscribe to my channel, my audience are generally in my own age bracket. A group of people who should remember this. Please, like, comment, subscribe, and share. Also, click the little bell notification. And comment down below what you think of 3.5. Good, bad, indifferent, or otherwise. I want to hear your thoughts. Oh. Just going over this is nostalgia. And not so nostalgic because I still actively run a 3-5 campaign. But man, just sitting here thinking about all the adventures I had as a kid. All the time I spent hitting it with my friends. This was the books we were hitting. Which is funny. I never went to college. Never had a desire to, didn't want to. I wanted to get on with working and making money. Now, all my life goal plans came to naught. I did make a lot of money. Arguably, I made a lot more money than my friends who went to college. Fucking love this chainmail. I would fucking wear the shit out of that. I mean, obviously I'm not a chick, but I love the leaf patterns and the way it looks like chainmail. It does. It's just tiny, tiny. It looks like she's wearing a shark bite suit more than chainmail. And it's supposed to be made out of mithril. So it's light. You wear it like a t-shirt. Though I imagine she's got to be wearing something underneath there because that would chafe. And at least it would for me. I'm hairy. So I'd have little hairs poking through all the chain loops and it'd pull and it'd be uncomfortable. I'd have to wear, like, I don't know, pajama pants? A t-shirt? It'd suck being in cold weather like that. But my AC would be ridiculous. And this is just a section for making magical items, making magical weapons, and randomly rolling magical weapons. Because look at this. Right, your DM would roll on the magical weapons table, and it would say specific weapon. And if the item rolled for the treasure table was a minor item, they'd roll on this list. Or they'd roll percentiles on this list if it was a medium. Or if it was a major item, boom, right here. With the luck blade of 3 wishes being the biggest, baddest thing on here. You got shit like this, the flame tongue. It is just constantly wrapped in fucking vicious flames. Or this, the Holy Avenger, which looks very Christian. Even though the world of D&D does not have Christ. It has other gods, so you'd think that it would be like the Blade of Lorion Corinthian, or Cord, or literally any god. Name one. Fuck. In fact, comment down below. List all the 3-5 D&D gods you can think of. And don't Google that shit. Don't be a know-it-all. Just what you can remember off the top of your head. Potions and oils. And the same thing. You'd go up here and you'd go minor, medium, or major, and you'd roll the percentiles, and that would tell you what item you got. Or more precisely, what item your players got. And then we come here to one of my favorites. Rings. Because you can use 2 at a time. Now, we didn't have attunement. And had attunement been a rule at the time, I think it might have cut back on some of the fucking magical item shenanigans that fucking took place in 3.5. And your mileage may vary. This is all scrolls. And anyone can use a scroll unless your DM is kind of a dick. It just depends. And we get into the wondrous items. Give you guys a second to just kind of drink some of these in. Just some cool shit. Oh, man. But you've got to love this edition. You've got to really love this book. The artwork, it didn't need as much artwork as newer books. And it's because back in this day, people didn't have as big of a fucking problem with ADHD. We didn't have a deficit of attention. When it came to gaming shit, we were all in. Just like I know that it's a few people, but some of you watch my videos all the way through. And that makes it worth it to me. Makes it worth it to me. Knowing that what I have to say and the ideas I have are valued by some people. Knowing that it matters. I love gaming. Absolutely love gaming. The imagination of it. The camaraderie of sitting down with your friends to roll dice. Making characters and stories. Stories so epic in scale they rival the greatest movies and TV shows. Sometimes those stories get passed along and become legends. I love everybody who sits down and takes the time to try to pass on gaming to the next generation. And to all of you watching, I love you too. Because you're taking the time for me to share this with you. Oh god, I love the artwork for that book. That just looks so fucking evil. Like, you look at that on a shelf and you're like, I probably should leave that right the fuck where it is. Deck of many things. Just maybe share this video with a friend that you think is interested in gaming. Maybe get your little sister or little brother to play, or maybe round your kids up and dust off your dice. Because this should never die. Someday when I pass on, I'm going to make sure that when I do, these books go to someone who is going to appreciate them. Hopefully someone who will love gaming as much as I do. Because to me, it's important. To me, it's about friends and friendship. About adventure and ideals. About storytelling. It's about us. Yeah, this doesn't happen in our real everyday lives. But it doesn't have to make it important. Well, guys, that's been the 3-5 Dungeon Master's Guide. And I have a few closing thoughts. The artwork is fantastic. The system is amazingly put together. And there's nothing like the tactile feel and smell of a book. These books are hard to get your hands on today. They've been out of print for over a decade. I love them nonetheless. You can get a PDF online, take a look. You never know where your next adventure will take you. With all that said, please always remember to keep adventuring.